notice if you have a prayer for yourself or the world. Notice if there's an intention you want to set. But I really invite you in this moment, particularly if you have a prayer for yourself, is there a prayer that you have for yourself that you might want to offer Tara tonight? And if there's one for the world, let that be there too. And whatever your intention might be for tonight. And then slowly, 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 as we come back to this more of a sense of awareness of being in the group with each other, have some sense of bringing that prayer with you. And see if you can bring that source of support with you, that sense of support. And touch back into it, when you think about it as we go through the evening. So one thing I want to mention now, which Julia has kindly put into the chat box, is that we do record the sessions, and I'm always asking people if they're willing to share something, and sometimes that's you might introduce yourself to the group if you're new, but please feel free, if you want the recording turned off, if you want to share a personal story and not have it be recorded, just let us know. We'll pause it, and we do that all the time, so it's no trouble. And that's a good thing to mention at the beginning. So I also want to notice that tonight we have a group of people tech hosting, which is just fantastic. We have Karen and Mary, our long-term tech hosts, who just, been faithful, I think for 3 years now, 4.
Four, probably.
Yeah.
4.
Yes. That's Karen. Hey, Karen.
Oh, hi. Oh, my mic was open. Oops.
No. I'm glad it was open. That's great. So I was wondering if maybe the other folks who have signed up to also be tech hosts would be willing to introduce themselves. And maybe we'll start with Julia.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I have been joining the group both live a few times, but mostly in recordings for the past maybe about a year. And I'm very grateful to be here to help out with tech hosting, learn from Karen and Mary's expertise, and hopefully contribute to the smooth flow of the group. But yeah, very grateful to be here. I get so much from this group, and happy to give back a little bit in my own way.
Thank you, Julia. Megan, I see you are unmuted, so why don't you go ahead?
Hi, everybody. I am really happy to be able to give back in some way. I've been coming to this group for about a year, and it's a treasured part of my month, and has really helped me with my practice. Yeah, so that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Lisa?
Hi, I've been in the group since the beginning, and I was really tickled that I could find a way to help out a little bit when Rachel sent out her email. So I'm just happy. I will sometimes be helping in the support role of, putting information in the chat tonight. Mary and Karen are going to be doing that.
Thank you, Lisa. So, Mary, do you want to talk about the community agreements and read those? Or Karen, either one?
I think Julia was planning on doing that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so we have the link there to our community guidelines, but the brief reminders are that what we talk about is meant to be confidential between those of us here, to be mindful of the space that you are taking when you're sharing and giving space to others, speaking from your own experience, so what you know from what's true for you, and of course, having a compassionate presence throughout all of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Julia. So tonight is going to be a little different. We've come to the last emanation of Tara in the cycle, the white Tara who fulfills all activities. And I think I mentioned this last time that what we're going to do tonight actually is go through each one of the praises. We're going to start with the praise to the green Tara. And we're going to say the praise once, and it's going to be in the chat so you can find it there if you don't have your book, or you don't, you don't know how to find the appendix. It seems less complicated to have it in the chat. And then we're going to say the mantra for that Tara 3 times. And then we're going to have a brief pause. So we're going to go through all 21. It surprisingly doesn't take that long to do that. And when we get to the end of that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it might mean to fulfill all activities, what it means if Tara does that, but really what it means when we're able to do that. What does that mean to us? And I'll say a few things about that, and then we'll do a visualization of this white Tara and then recite her mantra. So I think I want to invite you all in a very relaxed way as we're going through this process, when we're touching on each one of these Taras, because we've done this whole thing, and some people have now done it twice, come through the whole cycle twice, and we're going to start over again next month. If you want to think a little bit about, what has been completed for you in these 2 years, or what feels like it's, a little more, all together. That's a tricky phrase, getting it all together. What does it mean when Tara has it all together? So you might just think about that pretty loosely. So, however, I'm just remembering one other thing I really like to do and haven't done, usually at the beginning, is if there's anybody new here tonight, if you don't mind, like, raising your hand and telling us your name and maybe where you're from, so that we can welcome you to the group. Eve.
So I'm Eve Kodiak, and I am in Keene, New Hampshire.
Okay, well, welcome. I think you wrote me earlier this
I
afternoon.
did. I wrote you, and I just got back from the dentist.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
In plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, well, welcome. It's nice to
Thank
see you.
you.
Diane.
Hi, I have been here maybe once a year for the last couple of years, so I'm gonna say I'm new. I live in Holmes, New York, and I hope to come more often.
Well, good. I hope you can too. Welcome.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Yeah. So is there anyone else who's new? Okay. Well, welcome to the new folks, and also welcome to those of you who have been here many, many times. because,
It's my second time, Rachel. I'm having trouble with my computer.
okay, Mitch, that's all right. Welcome again. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. Um, yeah, I want to say, when you look in the chat, there's a little slight glitch, and I'll just explain it to you. But the green Tara praise actually ends with the line, I prostrate to the mother Tara. The thing that comes next, Om, I praise the venerable exalted Tara, is actually the mantra of the red, swift and courageous Tara. So when the five of us were plotting all this out earlier, we decided that we were a space station that had many different docking stations, and the Taras can dock wherever they want to. But anyway, we're all going to be muted, so it really doesn't matter if we get it exactly right or not. But if you feel a little bit confused, because I'm going to stop for the green Tara on the line that says, I prostrate to the mother Tara, and then we'll recite Tara's mantra, the green Tara mantra, and then we'll go on to the red Tara. And then we'll just keep going. So this is a good exercise in not worrying about getting anything right. That's my commentary on that. Okay. So, yeah, let's just take another moment, just take another breath and think, wow, we're off to a good start, and we're meeting and greeting new people and new tech hosts, and it's like the vastness of Tara, it just keeps expanding. It's really quite beautiful. And so lots of gratitude for that. So let's begin. Let's begin with the praise to green Tara. All gods and non-gods bow down, touching their crowns to your lotus feet. You remove all forms of poverty, both material and spiritual. I prostrate to the mother Tara. Om Tare Tutare Tursoha. Om Tare Tutare Tursoha. Om Tare Tutare Tursoha. So just have a brief pause between each one, just to let that vibration move through us in this little pause for just a moment. The red, swift, and courageous Tara. Om, I praise the venerable exalted Tara. I praise you, Tara, the liberator, swift and courageous, who through Tutari removes all fear, and through Turi bestows all benefits. I praise the swift and courageous Tara, whose look is as instantaneous as lightning, who appeared from the opened waterborne lotus on the face of the protector of the three worlds. Om Tare Tutare Turi Sarwa Tre Datu Vasham Kur Soha. Om Tare Tutare Turi Sarwa Tre Datu Vasham Kur Soha. Om Tare Tutare Turi Sarwa Tre Datu Vasham Kur Soha. The great white soothing Tara. I praise the one whose face is sublimely white, like a stack of 100 full autumn moons, who blazes with the illuminating light of 1,000 stars together. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Papam Shintam Kursoha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Papam Shintam Kursoha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Papam Shintam Kursoha. The golden colored Tara. I praise the one who has a turquoise and gold body and a hand perfectly adorned with the lotus, whose sphere of activity is generosity, diligence, austerity, peacefulness, patience, and meditation. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Ayur Punye Pushtam Kursoha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Ayur Punye Pushtam Kursoha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Ayur Punye Pushtam Kursoha. The yellow, all-victorious Tara. I praise the one seated above the heads of the Tathagatas who enjoys complete and infinite victory, who is deeply honored by the Bodhisattvas who perfected the transcendental virtues. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Ayur Jana Rebrum Soha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Ayur Jana Rebrum Soha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Ayur Jana Rebrum Soha. The red hum-sounding Tara. I praise the one who fills the world of desire, the 10 directions, and space with the mantra Tutari and the syllable hum, who trampling the 7 worlds with her feet has the power to summon them all. Om Tari Tutari Tur Amaka Arkashaya Hrisoha. Om Tari Tutari Tur Amaka Arkashaya Hrisoha. Om Tari Tutari Tur Amaka Arkashaya Hrisoha. So in each pause, I want to invite you, even though we're not going for saying, oh, this mantra means this or that, to really remember that each mantra is like a blessing. Each mantra is a request to Tara to help with a particular thing, you know. And if it helps you at all, sometimes I like to put my hand on my heart or somewhere, you know, my body, just to imagine that every one of these mantras is a blessing, asking Tara for a blessing. And as we're reciting the mantra, in whatever way that it's useful to you, to maybe use your hand or some other thing to really take in the idea of, oh, this is a blessing. I'm asking Tara for a blessing. The dark red victorious Tara. I praise the one to whom Indra, Agni, Vayu, and the other powerful ones make offerings, who is honored by demons, zombies, and other harmful spirits who bow down before her. Om Tare Tutare Tursara Bigana Shatram Utsatraya Soha. Om Tare Tutare Tursara Bigana Shatram Utsatraya Soha. Om Tare Tutare Tursara Bigana Shatram Utsatraya Soha. The black destroying Tara. I praise the one who completely destroys the plots of adversaries through Tre and Pe, who trampling them under her feet, right leg folded, left outstretched, completely consumes them with the fire that burns and rages. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Vija Avaraniye Be Pet Soha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Vija Avaraniye Be Pet Soha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Vija Avaraniye Be Pet Soha. The dark red destroying Tara. I praise the one who triumphs over the most resistant demons through Ture and her terrifying aspect, whose lotus face, frowning angrily, slays all enemies of spiritual realization, the negative emotions and obscurations of the mind, without exception. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Shatra Maria Pet Soha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Shatra Maria Pet Soha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Shatra Maria Pet Soha. The white protecting Tara. I praise the one whose fingers perfectly adorn her heart in the mudra of the three rare and sublime jewels, whose own light rays in the form of a wheel in her hand radiate in all directions. Om Tari Tutari Turi Mama Sara Upatawe Be Raksha Raksha Soha. Om Tari Tutari Turi Mama Sara Upatawe Be Raksha Raksha Soha. Om Tari Tutari Turi Mama Sara Upatawe Be Raksha Raksha Soha. The red influential Tara. I praise the one who spreads the supreme joy and garlands of the light which shine from her diadem, who bursts out laughing with the joyous exclamation Tutari, placing the demons and worldly gods under her power. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Marlika Vasham Kursoha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Marlika Vasham Kursoha. Om Tari Tutari Tursara Marlika Vasham Kursoha. I praise, this is the orange colored poverty removing Tara. I praise the one who has the power to summon all the assemblies of the protectors of the world, who liberates all beings from destitution through the letter hung, agitated by her wrathful frowning. Om Tari Tutari Turi Basudari Soha. Om Tari Tutari Turi Basudari Soha. Om Tari Tutari Turi Basudari Soha. So we're about halfway through. I want to remind you all, if you have a prayer for yourself or for the world, see if that prayer kind of resurfaces when you hear any of these praises or mantras, or even just the name of the Tara, like the poverty removing Tara. See what just comes up for you as we move through the rest of these praises and mantras. The golden good luck bringing Tara. I praise the one whose crescent moon-shaped diadem and ornaments blaze, who shines with a flow of continual light streaming from Amitabha, who rests on top of her hair. Om Tari Tutari Turi Mangala Siddhi Soha. Om Tari Tutari Turi Mangala Siddhi Soha. Om Tari Tutari Turi Mangala Siddhi Soha. The red burning Tara. I praise the one abiding in the center of a garland, who blazes like the fire at the end of an eon or a kalpa, who right leg outstretched and left folded completely destroys the enemies of those who rejoice in the turning of the wheel of Dharma. Om Tari Tutari Turisvatraya Basmin Kursoha. Om Tari Tutari Turisvatraya Basmin Kursoha. Om Tari Tutari Turisvatraya Basmin Kursoha. the black wrathful Tara. I praise the one who stamps with her foot and strikes the surface of the world's foundation with the palm of her hand, whose frowning expression masters the 7 levels of the underworld through the syllable hung. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Vajra Mahapadye Basmin Kursoha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Vajra Mahapadye Basmin Kursoha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Vajra Mahapadye Basmin Kursoha. The white soothing Tara. I praise the one who is bliss, virtue, and serenity, whose sphere of activity is the peace that transcends suffering, who overcomes the great negative actions through reciting the mantra perfectly with Om and Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Sara Papam Prashamaniye Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Sara Papam Prashamaniye Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Sara Papam Prashamaniye Soha. The red wisdom Tara. I praise the one who destroys the bodies of the enemies of those who rejoice in the turning of the wheel of Dharma, who liberates through the light radiating from the arrangement of the 10 syllables, that's her mantra, the letter hung, and from the mantra of awareness. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Sawa Dharma Prajapari Shodhye Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Sawa Dharma Prajapari Shodhye Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Sawa Dharma Prajapari Shodhye Soha. The saffron-colored Tara who moves the 3 worlds. I praise Ture, the swift one, whose seed has the form hung, who shakes Mount Meru, Mandara, Kailasha, and the 3 worlds by striking with the sole of her foot. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Sarakora Tambani Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Sarakora Tambani Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Sarakora Tambani Soha. The white poison removing Tara. I praise the one who holds the moon in her hand like a god's lake, marked with the symbol of the peaceful animal, who completely removes poisons and venoms through the recitation of Tara 2 times and through saying Pei. Om Tari Tu Tari Tur Sawar Nagavisha Shintam Kursoha. Om Tari Tu Tari Tur Sawar Nagavisha Shintam Kursoha. Om Tari Tu Tari Tur Sawar Nagavisha Shintam Kursoha. The white Tara who removes all suffering. I praise the one who's served by the kings of gods, gods and spirits, who dispels bad dreams and ends quarrels through her joyous armor. Om Tari Tu Tari Tur Sawadurva Savani Machani Soha. Om Tari Tu Tari Tur Sawadurva Savani Machani Soha. Om Tari Tu Tari Tur Sawadurva Savani Machani Soha. The orange-colored Tara who protects us from all illnesses. I praise one who's radiant with the light of her 2 eyes, full like the sun and moon, who eliminates the fiercest epidemics by reciting Hara 2 times and 2 Tari. Om Tari Tu Tari Tur Sawar Vija De Zor Prashamani Soha. Om Tari Tu Tari Tur Sawar Vija De Zor Prashamani Soha. Om Tari Tu Tari Tur Sawar Vija De Zor Prashamani Soha. The white Tara who fulfills all activities. Tari Tutari Sarwa Bija. Excuse me, Sarwa City Soha. Tari Tutari Sarwa City Soha. Tari Tutari Sarwa City Soha. I'm getting this reversed. I praise the one who possesses completely the power to pacify through the arrangement of the 3 seed letters. Sublime and excellent one who quickly vanquishes malevolent spirits, zombies, and other harmful demons. Just say the mantra again. Tari Tutari Sarwa City Soha. Tari Tutari Sarwa City Soha. Tari Tutari Sarwa City Soha. So in this moment, I just invite all of us to bring to mind that saying any mantra of Tara is in one way or other asking for her help. So I think I said this a minute ago, a mantra is like a prayer. And it's asking for Tara for help. And that really means that we're taking refuge in her. She is a fully awakened Buddha. She really embodies the understanding of emptiness or the interconnectedness of all things. She also embodies this vast, unimaginable, pure compassion. Some texts say her mind pervades everything, and she has great compassion for all living beings. And that includes us. So it's a good thing to realize, really, even when we say one of Tara's mantras, even if we haven't gone through the precise steps of taking refuge, we are taking refuge in her when we say her mantras, because we are really stepping into this realm, this subtle realm, bringing the relative and the absolute together, and we're asking for her help. And sometimes it's for ourselves, and sometimes it's for others, and sometimes it's for both. And they are all connected, right? So it's a good reminder. These mantras are blessings, they're prayers, they're asking for help. They're one way of taking refuge. So even though we're going to do this again in a minute, I would like to just dedicate this one part of the practice that we've done tonight. I would like to dedicate it towards the healing and awakening of all beings everywhere, including ourselves, with no exceptions whatsoever. So, in a minute, I want to do what I said a minute ago, which is to actually visualize the 21st Tara, because even though she appears at, in a white body of subtle light, the rays that are streaming out of her heart and her vase are all these different colors: white, yellow, red, and black. And so in that visualization and in that imagining of all those rays of light streaming out, we're actually calling on all the 21 possibilities. So, you know me, I usually have a few things I want to say about each emanation. I just want to just pause here just for one moment to see if anyone wants to say anything about what that was like for you, or if there's any comment you want to make at this point. You can raise your hand, you can unmute. You guys are brilliant. I have a feeling that somebody has something brilliant they could say. Megan.
I have, I thought that I understood why the kind of wrathful stamping out and destruction in some of the Taras is kind of not quite what I associate with any aspects, any actions that I would take that expressed wrathful destruction. And then I realized as I listened to this that actually I'm not really completely clear on that. And, like some of the things that are wrathfully being destroyed are, things that cause us to resist our practice and stuff like that. And I guess I'm not exactly sure how to disassociate that from, the sort of acts of angry self-repression and just stuff. I think you know what I'm getting at here, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I'll say some things about it. And I also want to say that it is a really good question and it has a lot of nuance to it. And so I want to speak to the nuances and sort of leave people with the nuances so that you can work with them yourself, so to speak. The one thing I've always gotten from the Tibetan teachers is that the wrathful deities, all of them, including the wrathful Taras, are emanations of fierce compassion, so that they have compassion for everything. I mean, everything, everyone, everybody, everything, even the things that we would have a hard time finding compassion for ourselves. So I think behind that is the idea is that everyone is an awakened being in the, at the core of our being. And then all this gunk gets, piled on top of it, including a lot of that self-reproach kind of stuff, that negativity. I think one of the best commentaries I've heard on this is connected to the 7th, the Black Tara, which is the only emanation in the whole 21 that is actually meant to be directed at harmful, destructive forces in the world. A lot of times we're dealing with the harmful, destructive forces within ourselves, but that one, it talks about energies that want to destroy things purely for the sake of doing it. And the the very nuanced explanation I've heard about that, Tara, is that what she is destroying are these deep, deep, deep misconceptions and conditioning and patterns in a person that would cause them to act in that way. That a lot of times when people act in really terrible, terrible, terrible ways, they're completely unaware of what's behind it in the depths. And so it's the idea that she's destroying the obstacles that would prevent us from understanding where's that coming from to begin with. Am I making sense so far? Because I think, so here's the other piece of nuance that I think is kind of tricky. If any of you all are familiar with internal family systems therapy, where, you're really looking at all these different parts of yourself. So if there's a part of yourself, say, for instance, it feels like there's a part of me that's really criticizing me, I really want to find out where is the suffering in that? What part of me is actually suffering there, right? That suffering is taking the form of self-criticism. So I think that's where the nuance comes in, because it's really like, I think what Tara, or the self, or the truly the vast awakened aspect, is to help us not turn against any part of ourselves. So that's where it gets a little tricky, because we want to be able to look at what might be the suffering that's generating that self-destructive pattern, that, that voice in the head. And at the same time, we don't want to let it just, have a field day, if that makes any sense. So if we're calling on Tara, it's like, yeah, it's almost like even asking a greater force that gets all of what I just said. And it's actually bringing in this protective energy so that we don't turn against ourselves in any way. I was talking to somebody today about this very thing. This idea, well, I should be doing this instead of that. And one of the things that I was saying is, in that moment, if we realize there's that voice, I should be doing this instead of that, instead of trying to decide whether to do this or that, to realize if that voice is there, that some part of us is suffering, and that we just stop the debate altogether. And this is again where I really like the idea of putting your hand on your heart. When you catch on to that something like this is going on, to be able to put your hand on your heart and say, this is a moment of suffering. And so you're asking for Tara's protection, to actually be in that space. Because sometimes if we get a glimpse of where that came from, it can be very intense. Does that help at all? Okay. Thank you. Like I said, it's a little bit complicated. It's an extremely good question. So thank you for that. So I just am thinking, I get these daily reflections from this place called the Deep Spring Center, and it's this woman, Barbara Brodsky, whom I really respect a lot, and she's channeling a being called Aaron, who was a Thai monk at one point, many, many centuries ago. And the thing that came through today, I thought was really important, because there's so much there's so much strife in the world, and there's so much unbelievable pain. I mean, Gaza is the easy example, but I mean, you know what I mean. It's the easiest example to lift up. It's just so awful. And we can feel helpless about that. And this is where I think this particular Tara can kind of help out, because she's like saying there's so many different possibilities here that you can do. And what Aaron was saying, and I just want to, I don't want to read the whole thing. The whole thing is really beautiful, but he's talking about what it's like if you're an incarnated being. He's not an incarnated being. But I think it speaks to what we can do. He says, I cannot make the loving choice to put my own needs back a little bit and really hear the cries of humanity around the world. I cannot give this earth the power of love that you as human beings can give. It doesn't have to be a big thing. You give blessings throughout your life, every time you smile at another, each time you call a sick friend, each time you go dancing, each time you sing a song, each time you bake bread or plant a seed in your garden, you can say, may this be a blessing. This is the gift you all came into the incarnation able to give. So I wanted to read that to sort of have a sense of, we really need to feel empowered. We really need to know that we can offer blessings, no matter how limited that might feel. So Sarah, I don't know where you went. You had your hand up.
Oh, just having the faith to trust that this is actually true and that it's available to me sometimes when I'm feeling doubtful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think everybody experiences that.
I
There's
think you're right.
almost too good to be true.
No, I think you're really right. And I can't remember who it was. I heard somebody saying like sometimes the darkness that's in the world can cast such a big shadow that you begin to feel like it's your own darkness. And that it really is hard to trust in your own basic goodness. And that what you do matters. And so this is one of the things that I think is wonderful about Sangha. And it's sort of wonderful because when we come to this, and that includes me, right? When we come to this with the intention of what can we see? What can we, if we part the veil here, what does this practice mean anyway? We're all coming with that, right? And each one of us is bringing a little seed of, I think this matters. And so if we're also bringing the seed of, I'm not sure that it matters, it helps to bring that seed here, where the one that says, I think it does matter, is also here, right? We can help each other in that way. I think it's so important. And it's also important to give voice to stuff like that, like what you just said, Sarah, to be able to say it out loud. And that's like Tara, she welcomes all that, right? So thank you for saying that. Lisa.
This really ties in with what both Megan and Sarah had said all through the reading all the praises and the mantras. I kept thinking about all the things in the world that feel so overwhelming and are so upsetting, and that, I mean, they're overwhelming for any one individual, right? And all the pain and all the horrors, and even the political scene in our own country, which has probably most of the world holding its breath. And the how can this be? How can this even be? And I'm always kind of like trying to figure that out, but I'm also a little bit afraid of being overwhelmed by reading some of the things about how things get so ugly.
Yeah, I know.
But I figure it all has to go back, like you were talking about, internal family systems and, attachment theory and all these things, all this wounding that so many have. And like my husband, he also doesn't understand it. He keeps saying, they're such idiots. And it's so easy to think that. But I don't think it's that simple, right? I think people are afraid for whatever different reasons, and I maybe don't understand their fear. And it makes me befuddled, but I clearly I don't have all the answers or anything. It was kind of comforting reading through all of those praises, because every one of them was like, oh, this is what we need. This is the kind of healing we need. This is what we need. And then the one with the supreme joy and the laughter, it made me think of some particular things happening. And I thought, well, maybe
Yes, a
there's
particular person.
energy there.
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully there's a particular energy there. And I like to think that if we could each heal enough, and if we could all support each other, it wouldn't have to be like this. People wouldn't have to have these ugly, destructive impulses that hurt other people, which is kind of utopian, but I do think we can at least work towards it.
I think you're right. That's exactly what I was going to say, that we can work towards it. And I think, again, I don't know about you guys, but I sort of feel like if I'm thinking these things that I'm saying to y'all tonight in a room by myself, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, okay. But if I'm actually in the practice itself, which is a whole other level of energy, it's another, I think it's another realm, actually. The reality of it becomes quite prescient. It's quite different. Like, truth to tell, and I've said this before, I'm getting ready to go to Switzerland on Tuesday. And it's like I am just I'm having a freak out city, trying to get ready to be gone for 3 weeks. It's like, oh my God. And it's like, you want to just sit down and do some Tara practice? I think it would help you a whole lot. But it's so incredible how we get into that nervous system reactivity. And it's like, oof, but then when we come into this level, there is a reality to it. It's incredible and it feels quite true. But we have to enter the reality to actually feel it. Otherwise, it's just a thought, So thank you, Lisa. Karen, did you want to say something?
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to, I had the experience of going through the cycle tonight, like a feeling of how it's laid out, like almost like the design of the 21 in a beautiful way, like how helpful it is at the beginning of any big undertaking to feel really inspired by goodness and everything that makes you feel safe. And like the first I don't know, 3 or 4 tars are so much have that energy about them, like just describing their beautiful enlightened qualities and how they look. And then we start getting into the work, and I mean, definitely by the time we get to number 7, but it starts to come even the one before that, with number 6, I guess, like well, anyways, I don't even, this is a quick study in a way. But then the next one after 7, like again, it's like we're staying down in there in our own stuff, like letting it really do the work. And then it starts to shift into like the protection space, like, okay, we're looking in, but we also are protected. And then I feel like after that, it starts to flow out into the world a lot more, and that sort of thing. And it also lightens up a little bit on that deep personal work that we've been talking about here also. And I'm not that we're not doing it, but it's like it's more about maybe some of those outer forces and stuff. Anyways, it was really a kind of wish of mine to kind of get a feeling of that cycle. And I forgot about that I had that, but then it came during the session. So thank you so
Karen,
much.
thank you so much for that. I was sitting here thinking, ooh, I wish you'd write that all down. I thought, well, it's recorded, which is great. That's really helpful. Thank you so much. Yeah. And I think, go ahead. Yeah.
One last little piece that it's because it reflects my own process like that, where I'm like, I'm I'm sort of in the more of the like trying to come out in the world place, and it's not easy. So where I've done a lot of some of that other work, some layers of it, but everything's getting challenged by it. So it feels really kind of wonderful to see that process reflected in the cycle
That's
somehow.
great. I think that experience I was having, it just almost made me want to cry. It's like with every single one, I want to stop and say, now y'all know what this means. It's like I could feel that part coming out, but I also really thought to myself, I'm just so grateful to keep going back through this again and again, which I wouldn't do if I wasn't teaching it. I really don't think I would. And so with each one, feeling so much gratitude for each one of these emanations and all the possibilities. It's pretty incredible, actually. I do remember, probably now decades ago, Rinpoche saying to me, I don't think he was really tossing this off either. He was like, if you have Tara and all the 21 Taras, you have everything you need. And that's not to say you might prefer something else, because people do prefer something else. But here's a quote for you guys that fits right in with what I was just saying. Because when, I think part of the things that the Tibetans talk about is, we tend to be more attracted to one of these Vajrayana, the meditation deities, than the other. It's just sort of a natural thing, just like you're more attracted to one person than the other. And in their system, the idea is if you have that attraction, it's probably from a past life. It's probably a long-standing connection. So now this is a quote that comes from Mr. Jung, which I really love, and I can't tell you from what part of his writing it comes from. I just know it's from him. He said, if some great idea takes hold of us from the outside, we must understand that it takes hold of us only because something in us responds to it and goes out to meet it. So I'm going to read that one more time because I really want to say that to you all so that you can think about, was this something already inside of me that is responding to the fact that it's being presented to me now and I'm going out to meet it? So he said, if some great idea takes hold of us from the outside, we must understand that it takes hold of us only because something in us responds to it and goes out to meet it. So, then can we trust that? Can we really trust that? Because if you trust that, you're trusting in your own basic goodness also. And you're also trusting in your own body, because it's the body that gives us that felt sense of connection to something. Another thing I want to say is like, Tantra is sort of the good news and the bad news. The good news is that it welcomes everything and includes everything. The bad news is it welcomes everything and it includes everything, right? And so, Chogyam Trungpa had this beautiful saying. He said, real fearlessness is the product of tenderness, vulnerability. If you open your heart to the world, you will also experience tremendous sadness.
Will you turn on the tea kettle?
I think he even said something like enlightenment is a state of tender-hearted sadness. So, I think that we have to, thank you, Julia, for putting that in the chat. I think we have to be prepared for what's happening to us over time. Is hopefully our heart is opening, and it's not just opening to the suffering of the world, it's opening to our own suffering also. And that can be a little tricky. So that's where it's nice to feel like, well, this is also a shelter. It's a shelter. And that's the refuge, And I think that's why when we go through the refuge prayers, we also call on the teachers and the lineages and the ancestors. Like Lama Rod teaches the homecoming circle, this helpful, compassionate spirits of the land, the helpful, compassionate spirits of the ancestors. All of that is part of what's creating shelter. And then we call on these enlightened beings. And, they come from all different kinds of, all different traditions. And, we just get to be open to the things that really touch us. I think it was Ramakrishna who said once, if you hear the name of a certain great being and you start crying, that's a real sign that you have a connection to that being. And I really trust that. I remember the first time I ever met Mother Mira, which is over 30 years ago. I'd never seen the woman before. I'm sitting in Germany. I like to say minding my own business in silence. And she walks into the room and I look up and I look at her. She's probably 32 or something at the time. And I just started sobbing. I'm like, well, there's something definitely going on here. So, and I feel like that, about some of these other beings too, including my teacher, who I'm going to see. I'm going to see them both in the next couple of weeks, which is very exciting. So I think I want to just say one last thing about this teaching from Zaze Rinpoche. He was giving a teaching on the 21 Taras from the Suryagupta tradition, but Atisha's teachings are really rooted in the Suryagupta tradition. But one of the comments he made about this particular emanation of Tara is sometimes we don't know how to help. Some of y'all are speaking to that. We don't know how to help, but we can ask Tara to help us know how to help, And I think sometimes that help can come, it may be a really specific outward thing, or it might be an inner prayer, Yeah. There's a prayer to the Divine Mother that says, I know not what to ask of you. Pray yourself in me. It's almost like you're asking the Divine Mother to teach you the prayer that you need in the moment. So I would like to this won't take too long because I see that it's getting late, but I really would like to kind of bring this together by visualizing this 21st White Tara who fulfills all activities and who really helps us attain all cities. And of course, one city is full awakening. So we're kind of asking her for everything. And I praise the one who possesses the power to pacify through the arrangement of the 3 seed letters. That's Om Aham. So that's the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. Sublime and excellent one who vanquishes malevolent spirits, zombies, and other harmful demons. So that, I think, is talking about what Megan and I were talking about earlier on. It really helps dissolve those destructive energies that can really get us off track. So the visualization, which I'll say in a minute, is that we're just going to envision these various rays of light: white for pacification, yellow for increase, red for control, and black for destruction. And we visualize this, we're going to imagine that I have attained all the cities and I can fulfill all the activities I have in mind. And again, that might be something you know about tonight. It might be something that you figure out 6 months from now. I would really like to make this painting. I would really like to help create this conference. I would really like to organize a food bank in my community. I would really like to practice every day. You know what I mean? It could be many, many, many different things. And the mantra just says, you're asking Tara to help you attain all those cities, all those activities. So let's briefly, I'm not going to go through the whole thing that I usually go through, but I am going to just do a shorter version of that so we can do this visualization and say these mantras as a way of kind of bringing it all together. So again, it's like, okay, we're just going to take a deep breath and then, let this image of the whole mandala of Tara appear in front of you. Because we just went through the whole mandala of Tara. And imagine green Tara in the center. Imagine all her emanations around her. Imagine all your teachers, your guardians, your guides, your ancestors, these things I was just mentioning, these helpful spirits, the helpful ancestors, not things, but people and spirits. And then to imagine all of our friends and loved ones and supporters are with us. And there's a line from another sadhana, which I love. It's like that we're inviting all beings as our guests to take in the radiance of this practice. And all those beings, good gracious, we have the freedom to just think of all the beings everywhere we want to invite. So we imagine that we're visualizing this mandala of Tara with all these different beings, and that we really can take refuge in Tara's enlightened consciousness, in these teachers, in these teachings, in our Sangha, the lineage Sanghas, the Sanghas of all the practitioners through the ages, from, any tradition that you're connected to, that we're taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And we really pray that through the practice of giving and the other perfections, that we could wake up completely in order to be of benefit to ourselves and all living beings. And we ask that all beings would have happiness, causes of happiness, that all beings would be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow, that all beings could really come to realize we cannot be separated from the sacred happiness, which is sorrowless, from that interdependent web of being, that we might live in equanimity without attachment for those we hold close or aversion for those we keep at a distance. So with these prayers, which are a practice in and of themselves, you can do them anytime, just that. Imagine that white Tara, who fulfills all activities, comes into the foreground. And she is radiant. And she appears in a subtle body of white light. So her deep core power is peace. The white Taras are all about peace and pacification. So she's emanating in a subtle body of white light. So that's her core power, is peace. And as I just said, she's radiating these different colors of light. and each one has its own power. So white for pacification, yellow for life increase, energy increase, red for, control, having good boundaries, and black or dark blue for protection, that things that have no intention other than destroying things, that we are protected from that, and we can ask that other people and beings would be also. So as we're visualizing all these various colored rays of light streaming out, and we can imagine them streaming into our bodies and into the world, we just think we are attaining all these cities, and that we can fulfill all the activities that we have in mind now, but that also might come to us in the future. All these enlightened activities. So let's say this mantra is, one of the shortest ones. So I think we have time to do it. So let's do one mala of this mantra, and then we'll pause for a minute and we'll dedicate the practice. And really, y'all, bring all your joy and all your certainty and all your doubt and all your everything to this, and just say to Tara, look, I'm going for it, okay? So please help me attain all these activities as you're saying this mantra. Let me be of benefit. Om Tari Tutari Tur Sarwa Siddhi Soha. 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 Om Tare Tutare 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 Tur Sarwa Siddhi Soha. You know, in this moment, I really invite you all to revisit if there is a prayer for yourself or for anybody else. If there is a deep intention that you want to set and have help, with that, please bring that to mind and imagine that because we're all here with this very similar intention of wanting to wake up, wanting to be of benefit, wanting to heal, that imagining every bit of healing we do for ourselves helps heal the ancestors, the descendants, the people around us. Just don't be shy. If there's some deep prayer that you have for yourself, just hold that very strongly in your heart, or for others, and imagine that prayer is being supported by everybody here and all the Taras. Yeah. It's very, very, very precious. And so with that, we begin this process of dissolution and dedication. Just imagining that white Tara now recedes back into her place in the mandala. We just take one last look at this amazing, vivid collection of awakened female Buddhas, all of them rooted in green Tara. And we thank all of our benefactors, all of our teachers and guides, ancestors, helpful spirits, all of the lineages, everyone who has come to either help support the practice or benefit from it. We thank them for coming, and we ask them to return now to whatever realms they came from. Just imagine that happening. And then we take one last look at this mandala of green Tara and her 21 emanations. And imagine it, all of it, dissolving into light. It's amazing display. Like the most gorgeous fireworks you've ever seen in your life. And then some, just all this light going out into the universe, going everywhere, everywhere. Just showering out into the universe and also into us. And that some of that light is coming down into your central channel, into your heart, where it's really joining with the Tara, sitting on a lotus throne in your own heart. She's already there, just joining up with her. And then we just, for one more moment, we just have that amazing image of space and all that potential, all that potential. Who knew what would emerge in the last 3 weeks? Who knows what might emerge in the future that could really be wonderful, could be of benefit to this planet, all beings on it. All that potential in that space. And so as we rest in that space, inner space and outer space, we just dedicate the practice. We give thanks for the practice. We give thanks for each other. We give thanks for the opportunity and all the beings that through centuries that have even made this possible. So we offer out our gratitude, and we also dedicate whatever merit or positive potential has come from our doing this practice together. We dedicate it towards the healing and awakening of all beings everywhere. All beings. That all beings could wake up. With no exception. Yeah. We dedicate the practice and we give thanks. Yeah. So I see a hand up. Looks like Trisha's got her hand up. This is the moment where I want to say to you folks, sometimes we hang around and have some things to say to each other, and sometimes people need to go to bed. So if you need to sign off, don't feel bad about that. If you want to hear what folks have to say, or if you have something you want to say, I'm happy to hang out for a little while longer. So Trisha.
There you go. Hi.
Hey.
I did that after I put my hand up before we did this and after the whole reading of everything. And I just was thinking that, as usual, I just feel so grateful for you, Rachel, and for our Sangha and for Tara. And, I was in 12-step programs I've been in for 40 something years. And luckily, I stuck around, and I remember somebody telling me in about 10 years, oh, don't worry. I'd say, I don't get it though. I'm doing everything they say to do. I do all the stuff, but I don't get it. I don't feel happy, joyous, and free. I don't get it. And they say, oh, you're in the Slow Learners Club. And so I always thought that to myself, and then one day it was like, oh, something happened and it all started making sense.
Oh.
So the Tara practice, of course, is not much different than that, really. The basic tenets of all of it. But that's what I've been doing. And I remember when I did the first initiation, and you said that when you did the first initiation, you didn't really know what was going on. You did it anyway, but you didn't really understand it that much. And so that's what I did. I did it, and I thought, thank God for all these years in the program where I just kept doing what they told me to do and not really getting it, So anyway, when we went through it this time, suddenly all these things started gelling of the whole 21, of the whole 21. And it just, I don't know, things just were making more sense to me, and so it's nice when you have those little cracks. There was this one woman, and then I'll shut up. It was in the program in the beginning, very mentally ill and really, really suffered. She was unhoused and really suffered with schizophrenia. But I remember her saying, I was down on First and Pike in Seattle, and I was walking across the street, and boom, I had a moment of clarity. And I loved it so much. I keep remembering it. I don't have it anymore, but I can think about that I had it. And I think, yeah, that's kind of what it's like. Every once in a while, you just get oh, this is what it means. This is what it's about, So everything you were saying at the end it's just that thing of, really wanting to be of service to others. That's like my goal always, and always has been. And so I don't think about it too much. I just know that that's what this does. It helps us to be of benefit to others and to myself. And I want to be of benefit to my little family first and move out from there, So I always try to keep it really close to here and move out. Anyways, I'm just super grateful. Thanks as
Oh,
always.
thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful. It's a real good reminder. The Dalai Lama, I mean, other people have said this too, but he also used to say a lot, never give up, never give up, never give up. So that's called perseverance. It's one of the 6 perfections, I think. So Roger, hey, where'd you go? I hope you didn't click the leave button instead of the unmute button.
Sorry
There you
about
go. That's okay.
that. Hey, Rachel,
Hey.
and hello, everyone. And Trisha, thank you for what you shared. That was inspiring. I have not been here in quite a while, and I hit a point where I was kind of like, I've been knowing I got to get back. I got to get back, and I got to get back into my different practices, and I got to get back into my Tara practice, and it was still on my calendar, so I was going to be here. And this week just kind of shook out in a way that was full of crazy ups and downs. And I'm going to try and make this as brief as I can. But for the last 2 years, I have been working on an oral history project about a neighborhood in Akron, Ohio, where the city built a freeway through this neighborhood. So I found people who lived in this neighborhood, and I was doing these mini documentaries about what this neighborhood was like from their point of view, what it was like before the freeway was built, and then how it started to change after construction started. And so it has been ups and downs. Like, it was such emotional work, and it coincided with my own sort of healing journey. I'm hearing these people talk about their trauma from living through having to move, being separated from friends and family. Sometimes they never saw friends again, like best friends, never run across them again. So that has been my life for the past 2 years. I've thought about this freeway constantly, and I was really happy with the work around this oral history, and an opportunity came. So like the city was able to get funding to write a plan for what to do with the freeway. Like they want to decommission. Part of it's decommission. They want to get rid of the whole thing. And so they got a bunch of money to write a plan for what this could become. I was able, a architect and design firm reached out to me and was like, hey, you've been telling these stories. We'd like to work with you on this. Would you be interested? And I didn't know. My first thought was like, if this goes wrong, everybody in Akron will be like, see, and Roger Riddle was a part of it. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I should do this. And but quite right away, this group of people showed that, like, we built a lot of trust and respect from each other. They wanted to work with more people in the community. So we put together this team of local artists to help these other local artists, we were going to help kind of shape the plan through the eyes of Akronites, people who live here. And even one of the guys from the design firm was born and raised in the city. So like we had this very, very local group full of talent and as well as like national expertise. we put together the best proposal we could. We put together the absolute best presentation we could because we had to make a public presentation in front of residents, and we had to interview with the mayor and the planning department, and we all walked away from it being like, we couldn't have done any better than that. Like, we were so excited. We were like, finally, like, we're going to get something done about this freeway that's caused so much harm and so much damage. And we heard from like, we were quoted in newspapers and things along those lines. We heard from people, oh, you did so great. You know, like, we just love what you all had to say. And then Monday, they were supposed to announce who got the contract. And it wasn't us. It was a big international firm that really didn't have much local expertise. Like, they had one group that was out of Cleveland, Ohio, and there's quite a rivalry between Cleveland and Akron. And so, like, they don't really have a lot of local talent on their team, but they got the deal. And so, like, we were just heartbroken, devastated. Like, I didn't know what to do. I was disillusioned. I was angry. I made sure to feel out and try to describe each emotion I was feeling. But at the same time, I was like, I can't even wish bad on this because I want them to do it right. Like, this is so important to the city. They picked this group. I want this group to do it right. But still, like, I was just so hurt. And so my family, my longtime girlfriend, her children, they were all rooting for me. My mom and my dad, my sister, like, they were able to tune in on the live stream of the presentation. And so they all knew about it. So I had to call everybody and we're like, you know, we didn't get it. We didn't get it. So I have never really had the greatest of relationships with my parents. And this was the first time that they really saw me in action as an adult. They still kind of thought of me as a kid. We were so estranged from each other in ways that they just didn't understand or know what it was that I did. And so I was, first of all, excited about that. It was like, everybody, my family gets to see me in action right now. And then, you know, I had to call them and say, like, we didn't get it. Well, my mom and dad called me yesterday, and when I talked to them, they gave me the sweetest, most loving, most supportive pep talk. It's the first time my parents have ever talked to me like that in all their life. And I was just so uplifted and felt so supported. And oh my God, it was the most beautiful thing. And so I caught COVID. So I would be with my girlfriend and her daughter right now, but because her daughter is autistic, I was like, yo, I don't want her getting exposed to this. So instead of being at her house, I'm at my apartment. I was like, it's Thursday and it's tar time. Guess where I'm about to be? And so I am here. And so as we started going through the 21 tars, like, so many of them were jumping out at me because there were so many aspects of what I was feeling in play. And then, of course, we ended on 21, the white tar, and it just felt so good. And I'm so glad to be a part of this group, even though I've been away from a while. I'm gonna do better about being here with you all more often. So thank you for listening to me.
Roger, thank you so much. And you know, I could, that's the story, you know, all over the country, these freeways plowing through these wonderful old neighborhoods. We have this here where I live, and it's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. So the work you've done, I'd love to be in touch with you about that. That's an incredible story. And absolutely what you've done is not for nothing. I don't know what it's ultimately, that's incredible. I really appreciate your sharing the whole story with us. And I'm very grateful for this blessing with your parents. That's amazing. I'm sorry you have COVID, but no, I didn't think that was going to be the punchline. I didn't know what it was, but I didn't think it was going to.
If you all noticed, I've been eating ice the whole time we were on. Like, I'm so hot. Like, I've just been over here eating ice the whole time.
Well, Roger, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing all that. And please do come back, you know, and kind of keep us posted. Just see what keeps emanating. You know, it's like, I don't know if you're looking in the chat. You're getting a lot of messages in the chat. And I just want to say yes to all the messages in the chat. It just feels like a lot of good has already come from this, even if what we all might have hoped for didn't come from. It's just amazing. It's an amazing story and a lot of work. And I'm so glad that you kind of made it to this point. And boy, we're going to call on the orange Tara who removes all illnesses now. Thank you, Roger. Thank you. And I'll be looking for you. So if you don't come back, Tara's got her eyeball on you. Beware. Thank you. So Stephanie, do you want to share something?
Yeah,
Speaking of
I'll make
COVID.
it really snappy. I already put it in the chat to thank you all for your support last week. Last month I was in bed with COVID. And Rachel, I think you very kindly asked because I commented that I was concerned about my husband getting COVID and dying.
Yeah.
And you asked for his name, and so many people in the chat have said, I'm glad you guys are okay or whatever, but it just occurred to me, and this is why I raised my hand. I don't know how many of you were supplicating Tara for Boyce, but this is my joke that I keep telling. This is Boyce with COVID. I need to take a nap. So, I was laid out in bed for 10 days and he really had a little cough and laid down for a while. And the reason I raised my hand, I was like, oh my gosh, I just realized pretty much everybody on this call supplicated Tara for my husband's health. And I think it worked. That's all.
All right. We'll take it. Oh my gosh. Wow, Stephanie, that's wonderful news. I just want to say I just appreciate the level of generosity that exists in this group. That showing up is an act of generosity. So many of you support me with Donna, which is incredibly helpful. That's another act of generosity. The things you share with each other, the ways you support each other, there's so much generosity going on here, which is, the first of the perfections, actually, through the practice of giving and the other perfections. So I just want to thank all of you for everything you bring to this endeavor. And, as I said, I'm getting ready to head off to Switzerland and see my teacher for the first time in 4 years. And I'm a little nervous because I'm kind of thinking, I don't know how many more times I'm going to do this. This is tricky and difficult and all that. So I'm going to give Rinpoche everybody's love because you are one of the things I want to talk to him about. And whenever I see him or I write him an email, you're the first thing he asks, how are the groups doing? So, yeah, we'll be doing that. And Monica, did you put your email address in the chat? And maybe you can give us your spiel here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Monica, and I manage the contact list for this group. So, and the contact list, I should mention, is to allow for Rachel to be in touch with the group between our monthly sessions whenever she has something to share. So for anyone who hasn't joined the contact list yet, maybe I did put my email address sort of an hour ago in the chat, but maybe before we end, I'll just quickly put it in there again so that if you want to contact me to put your name on the contact list, I would be happy to do that for you. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Monica. And Mary just put it in there. So
thank you, Mary.
She's on the spot. Anyway, yeah, I just want to send you all love, and I would appreciate traveling prayers. I'm not too shy to ask for them. I'm one of those people who doesn't like to get on airplanes, and I'm getting ready to do it. So anyway, so lots of love to you all, and You know, it's interesting how our schedule is working out perfectly with this trip. So I'll see you next month. It's kind of interesting. Tara is yeah, she's got it going on. So you guys take really good care and see you next month.